apparently a lot of Greeks are mad about this movie for everything that they think is un-Greek about it. And it's like, yeah, this isn't a history.
It's a fantasy. This work of fiction is being criticized for not being period accurate. Okay. Welcome to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, the big, butch, manly pop culture podcast that, to paraphrase Homer, knows the world is full of wonders, but nothing more wonderful than man, if that man is wearing hoochie shorts. I'm Shane Holland.
I'm Andrew Wheeler.
Today, we are discussing The Odyssey, the 2026 epic fantasy action film written and directed by Christopher Nolan. It's an adaptation of Homer's ancient Greek epic, The Odyssey. The film chronicles Odysseus' long and perilous journey home after the Trojan War as he attempts to reunite with his wife, Penelope. It stars Matt Damon, Anne Hathaway, Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, Lupita Nyong'o, and Zendaya, as well as Charlize Theron. This movie had an estimated budget of $250 million, and it's the first to be shot entirely on IMAX's 70mm film cameras. And wow, what a shot. This film was beautiful, and I think there are two things I want to start off with. First of all, spoiler alert for this 2,800-year-old story. And second, I feel like I should explain.
Could you actually?
Well, I was like, what do I have that could possibly evoke Greek epics? And I was like, well, I do have that wrestling singlet. And so that was the thought process.
Great. We're going to have a Nipples a Go-Go episode and hope that it doesn't get us delisted from YouTube.
Oh, no.
I
mean, I do have
with a different fashion choice. It'll all make sense.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let's start talking about this film. Andrew, tell me a little bit about your relationship with The Odyssey, but more importantly, your first thoughts after finishing this movie not but 3 hours ago.
Yeah. We're fresh from the screening. We saw it in IMAX in the big box, the tall IMAX screen. Yeah, have I ever read any Homer? No. Do I know the story of Ulysses? Mostly, and I've used this reference so many times in the past week. Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou is my primary reference for all things The Odyssey. There was also a French-Japanese anime called Ulysses 31 in the far-flung future that I used to watch when I was a kid. So that's my other big reference point. And beyond that, I know it in the same way that everyone knows The Odyssey. Like everyone knows Circe, everyone knows Lotus Eaters.
Everyone knows Circe, everyone.
I figure most people are familiar with those. And, the whole thing of the homecoming. Like, I think I had this story told to me in school as a kid because it was all familiar to me. Apart from the giants, the island of giants threw me for a loop. I didn't know that, but that is part of the myth. So yeah, and just came out of this movie a short while ago. Thought it was spectacular. It's a real feast. It's 3 hours that move at quite a clip.
Yeah.
I hate a long movie, but this one I thought did really well. I mean, it did reach the point where I was like, oh my God, there's still the whole Penelope's challenge section left to go. We're not there yet.
That was blessedly pretty brief.
But yeah, it's a very long movie that moves pretty well, but it's still a 3-hour movie. Like there's no deceiving yourself about that. It covers a lot of ground in 3 hours. The story goes through a few distortions over the course of those 3 hours. I thought the accent choice, I didn't quite get. The decision to make everyone sound like a New York deli owner seemed a little bit off to me.
Interesting. Well, you would say that, seeing that every other epic that's been made in the last 100 years, you have to speak in some kind of English or British accent. So yes, it was pretty odd that they chose American as the base accent. But you know what? I gotta say, I didn't mind it. But I have this sounding voice, so maybe I have some bias towards that.
Disgusting. Yeah, no, I got used to it. I got over it. One of the things I liked most about this movie was how much of a horror movie it was. So huge
Yes.
sections of it, and some genuinely unsettling horror at that. We'll talk about that actually in the women's section, I think, of the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
Um, make of that what you will. But yeah, I'm a fan of Christopher Nolan's Odyssey, and I'm not a person who I'm not a Christopher Nolan fanboy because, as we've discussed in the past, his women aren't usually great. His queer representation is usually nothing at all. He doesn't seem to care about those elements very much in most of his stories, and that makes a distance. He's a very straight filmmaker.
Mm.
But this, I would say, it's probably up there among his best works. It might be his best work. What about you? What are your first thoughts?
Well, I too have never read the Homeric epic. I've osmosed everything I know through the internet and reading about ancient Greek history, but never actually reading any ancient Greek. I too have seen Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And did school plays and grade 9, our very first or our last unit of the year were Greek tragedies. And so, you learn a lot in through reading about all of the other Greek tragedies because they're all intertwined, because that period of civilization was actually such a small blip of time that all of these stories came together at around the same time. I I also felt it wasn't 3 hours. Like it it just moved by so smoothly. The pacing was brilliant and great performances, really beautiful film to watch. I commend a movie where everything is lit by fire and there are so many scenes that take place at night and in caves and in dark, musty halls. And yet I could see all the details. I was never like squinting like what's going on in there. It was brilliant for such a dark film, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I also found some solid jump scares and some genuine good chuckles throughout the film. I think Nolan understands that if you're gonna have such a dry and dreary film as this, you need to lighten the mood once every hour, I think would be the level that happened.
Yeah.
Now, I I hear what you're saying about Christopher Nolan because I have said it myself. But I think Christopher Nolan might also be my favorite director right now. I genuinely enjoy the films that he does a lot. And I like everything. I have my gripe with it. Yeah, there aren't any gays. The women usually suck. But Interstellar might be one of my favorite films of all time. The Dark Knight trilogy is, I think, really brilliant still to this day. And his other works. I'm not going to list them all, but I just think he has such an eye, and he just understands how to make a film and how to make an interesting film. And I think a lot of people just make movies. He is really
Mhm.
invested in the art of filmmaking, and I think that makes a difference. And I always look forward to what he's doing next. And I think this might be in my top 3 Christopher Nolan films, if not number 2. Interstellar's always going to be number 1, and that's because my mom and I have a special connection over it. Yeah, I just loved this experience, and as always, I just love getting to experience movies beside you because you're such a wonderful movie watching partner.
I stay quiet. That's my secret.
Yeah. When everyone else around us is squirming and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
scrunching and talking and looking at their phone, Sally Scroller or whatever the fuck they call her at the beginning of
That's right.
the.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's an incredible storyteller. I think that's, for me, that's the appeal of Christopher Nolan stories. It's very compelling all the way through, even when it's about Oppenheimer, a person
Yeah.
I not only have no great interest in, but have some antipathy towards, as I think all sentient beings do.
And should. Yeah.
And should.
Yeah, no, he can really turn anything into a piece of art, and that's quite a skill, unlike this podcast. Now, I think it's time that we should pivot and talk about the women.
There are some very prominent women in this movie, which is a nice departure
Mm-hmm.
from Oppenheimer and the frankly egregious roles that he gave the women in that movie. I get it. There's scientists in an era where very few scientists were women, but still, my God, I'm sure he had a mother.
What was that movie, Hidden Objects? The movie about the three NASA
Right.
scientist women. Like,
In figures, I think.
Hidden Figures, thank you. Like, there's an example of, like, women existed in this field. They just weren't seen or respected. But that doesn't mean you have to erase them completely. Anyway, we're back on that
Yeah.
train.
So yeah, we've got Anne Hathaway as the leading lady, as Penelope, Zendaya as manifestation of the goddess Athena, Charlize Theron as Calypso,
Calypso.
Lupita Nyong'o as both Helen of Troy and Clytemnestra. But the woman I want to start with, the woman I want to kick off with, because she is my scene stealer of the movie,
Mm,
is Samantha Morton as Cersei. I love a witch with a cauldron.
mm.
And she is an absolute queen among superhags in this film.
She might
Samantha
be the
Morton is
progenitor,
she might be the oldest and original superhag. She is
the
so
Supreme.
brilliantly compelling and creepy in this movie.
Yes.
Samantha Morton not afraid to play a grotesque in this film, and just it's so, can I say, meaty? It's so
Oh,
meaty.
oh, we love it.
It's so scary. Like, it's genuinely unsettling, her performance here, and the use of special effects against that. And she comes across as the most terrifying person in a film full of giant soldiers and warriors.
Cannibals
And
and
yeah, so
yeah,
she's my MVP.
I I totally agree. That sequence in this film is horrifying and
Mhm.
unsettling from the moment that they land on that island. But when you're introduced to this little, I was going to say little old woman. She's not that old, but yeah, whatever. You're introduced to this little old woman in a cabin and seems very innocent. And what she does to those men is perverse and disgusting. And I loved every minute of it.
All men are pigs. And what makes them so is their behavior.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's not that old. She's my age. Thank you. I just had to check that.
Uh,
How dare you?
I mean, come on.
As a soup hag, I'm deeply offended. um, Also giving old is Anne Hathaway, who is playing a mother to Tom Holland. So she's sorry, Anne. Now you're in your mother era.
And she's like maybe only a couple years older than I am. And they give her like they give her lines. Her face is weathered.
Yes, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I guess she's probably
she's
younger
probably
than
younger
her
than she's
character in
supposed
this
to be
movie.
playing.
Yeah.
They age everyone up, right? Right? Matt Damon definitely. Right? He's not that old. Anyways,
Who could even tell anymore?
I thought Anne was Hathawaying, and I mean that respectfully. I thought she was terrific. There were a lot of facial movements and tics, but I felt it was earned. Like, this was a woman on the edge or the midst of a breakdown, and also in a position where she has to hold it together. And I love that she can portray that so strongly that I get that as the viewer.
No, she definitely is sort of the dramatic linchpin of the film. She gets some great scenes with Matt Damon, with Tom Holland,
With
um,
Robert Pattinson.
and
And with
Robert
Mia
Pattinson.
Goth. Oh my
Yes.
god, that scene with her and Mia Goth. Brilliant. Just a short little second of like, I know what you've done. And I was like, oh god, I'm a little wet. Let's talk about Lupita in this amazing dual role. Clytemnestra, first of all, get tested. It's very important to get that treated as soon as possible. I thought
Mhm.
that she did a wonderful job of making them feel like two distinct characters, even though we only really see Clytemnestra in very brief flashbacks. But Helen, oh my god. Lupita plays Helen of Troy, by the way. I feel like that was buried in any of the press about this. I was shocked when I realized that's who she was portraying. And wow, what a disturbing performance.
So great. Yeah, I'm shocked you didn't know because, of course, the sections of the internet that get up in arms about things were up in arms about this. But if you're casting someone to be the greatest beauty to walk the earth, Lupita Nyong'o is on a list of like 3 women who you think could possibly play that role.
Speaking of beautiful women, Zendaya, she's apparently everyone's muse because we watched she was in 2 trailers or well, she was in 1 trailer, but she's also in the Spider-Man movie, which was like being advertised quite heavily outside of the theater that we were in. So I feel like we're just seeing her everywhere.
Zendaya as well. We're just living in it. She's radiant in this relatively minor role. She's being billed as the star of this movie in like the press tour. Like she and Tom Holland are sort of, the new king and queen of Hollywood. And more power to her. I mean, I may find Law Roach to be a despicable judge on any TV show he's ever a judge on, but he does know how to dress Zendaya, and
This is true.
credit where it's due. Yeah, it's a bit of a thin role, but also a very integral role. There is no faulting Zendaya. She takes the material and she
Elevates.
delivers.
Yeah, she is essentially, like, in some ways, the linchpin of this film. And I think she has the most surprising reveal at the end of the film, too, which I won't go into spoilers about, but I thought it was a brilliant twist in a movie that didn't have a lot of twists. Charlize, living
Let's talk about Charlize.
everyone's best life. Imagine getting to be that beautiful and live in this shack that you've built on an endless beach for all of eternity. No. God, that's the life. I want to be a Calypso baby.
Yeah, sun-kissed, beachy, beautiful. I didn't know Charlize was in this. That's the character I was surprised by. Charlize Theron as Calypso.
And she's like the first person you see in this film, almost.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Yeah, she was great. She was perfect for the role. And she did look like she was sort of like applying the jojoba oils and seasoning her fish barbecues beautifully.
Oh, yeah, she probably smelled of lotus flower.
Time. Yeah, what a babe. Charlize Theron, you're a babe.
You're such a babe. This is usually the part where we don't objectify people, but honestly, all of these people are so beautiful that it's hard to not mention how beautiful they are. They're also all really great in this film. I think we've made that point, but I just want to reinforce it.
Who knew Christopher Nolan could direct women? It's never been done before.
It's shocking. Let's talk about The Boys. Now, this is a movie full of boys, and we got some pretty good ones, I gotta say. I know, I don't think this is controversial, but I feel like it is. I think Robert Pattinson is still really fucking hot. He plays evil so well. And he's been on this streak of not playing evil bastards, but this movie, he's like, no, let me do what I do best. And God, that smirk, it just killer.
Yeah, he is very convincing as an evil bastard. I was waiting for him to die the whole movie. So that's a sign of a good villain.
Yeah. Also, Robert Pattinson in another 3-hour film, which I think moves along at quite a clip, The Batman. And I might die on that hill because, it's a long Batman movie, but I like that one.
I enjoyed it fine. Robert Pattinson likes to play bats, but he wasn't my eye candy of choice in this film. We had a few options.
He wasn't my favorite. He's up there, but there are people who beat him.
I think Benny Safdie was playing the cinematographer well to make him look as mysterious and erotic as Agamemnon as possible without ever showing his face. That was quite the role to have. John Bernthal as Menelaus, what a stud. You can always count on John Bernthal. I love his episode of Kimmy Schmidt so much.
Yeah, I forgot about that. He is, first of all, he looks great bald and with the beard. So, and he's so bulky, and he also just has this like smooth, sexy ass voice that would melt me if I were to meet him in person.
Yeah. He's great as Daddy King in this. Matt Damon, we have to give acknowledgement to. We've talked in the past about Matt Damon. He hit his erotic peak around Talented Mr. Ripley, Born Identity.
Yeah.
That was a great 1-2 punch. He's not been someone that I'm attracted to in the intervening years. I was always a Ben Affleck girly anyway.
I've always been a Matt Damon. I think we've had this discussion before.
I think we've had the conversation. But, you know, he's absolutely yoked in this movie. Like, he's in incredible shape for a man in his mid-50s. Stunning.
Daddy. And playing Daddy. Yeah, every shot of him, especially profile, where you can see that cute little nose of his, and then he's just like so lean and sculpted, looking like an actual Greek god. My God. Yeah, he was really fun to watch, even with the gigantic white beard and the graying hair as the beggar. I still really enjoyed looking at him. And I thought this could have been a tough movie for the lead actor to pull off, even with someone like Christopher Nolan. He somehow grounded this role and made all of this believable, and I felt for him, and also I wanted to throttle him at points, and I wanted to hold him and caress him a lot. It was just such an astounding performance by this man.
Yeah, I would never have cast him as Odysseus. Like, he just wouldn't be anywhere on my shortlist. But I think he gave an exemplary performance. Like, he's going to be number one for the Oscars for sure, I would think. Top draft pick. This movie is rife with Oscar potential. It's going to end up taking home 14 Oscars, probably. Good to see him back on top, honestly, because I don't know the last time I've really particularly cared about Damon in a movie.
Wow. Strong choice of words there. We have to talk about Baby. Tom Holland.
Baby?
Tom Holland is actually pretty great as well. And for an action star, he got to do something totally different in this action movie and barely lift a finger, which must have been so nice for him.
Honestly. Yeah, he filmed this and Spider-Man back-to-back, filmed this first. They pushed the filming of Spider-Man back, in fact, so he could shoot this movie. So he's in Spider-Man shape for this movie and ready to flip and jump and bounce around, but doesn't need to very much.
No.
A little bit, but not very much. Tom Holland, I adore. I think he's a good person. I think he's a very talented actor. I think this movie was such a great showcase to show his actual acting skills beyond being the definitive Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
He's always been great in the things he does, but the things he does don't stretch him that much. This film stretched him, forced him to play subtlety in a way that I'd never seen play across his face before. And it was honestly beautiful. I think it's a really beautiful performance, not just because I think he's such a little pocket hump. Genuinely, I think his telemarkets was sublime.
That scene with him and Menelaus, where Menelaus is recounting the events of Troy, and then we cut back to the present, and like a single tear has fallen, and then he starts weeping. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know that this man had that in him, and it really moved me. I loved that.
And he makes alcohol-free beer. I mean, he's
sober? What? Oh God, marry me. Oh, sorry, Zendaya.
I think Zendaya's really got that one wrapped up.
Locked down. Oh my God, is he locked? No, that can't be right.
I'm going to mention a couple of the most incidental of incidental hotties. But right at the start of the movie, we have some Trojans in those gorgeous white helmets and white armor running up to Sinon and the Trojan horse. I just knew those boys were hot under those helmets.
So you had a peek?
Them up, and sure enough, Rafi Gavron and Shiloh Fernandez are the actors. I know them both from other roles. They have both incredible cheekbones and were both basically cast for their bone structure. I would be willing to guess, because it sculpts the helmet so perfectly. Great incidental hottie casting. You can tell they're hot even though you literally cannot see them at all.
I also want to shout out Ryan Hurst, who plays Mentor, who is a thick man with a top knot and is the mentor to Tom Holland's character, Telemachus, Telemnestra.
That's right. Telstar. There are also other great male actors in this film who aren't hotties, but we have to shout them out. They're hotties to someone. Everyone's a hottie to someone.
That's right.
Dinesh Patel, actually, I think is very handsome.
He's
as
very
Eurylochus. John Leguizamo as Eumaeus, and I just mentioned, played by Elliot Page in a really linchpin role for this movie. I thought he was great.
It's so hilarious that people were upset that Elliot Page was in this film. They didn't even know what character he was playing, and they were upset that he was in this film. And huge spoiler alert. Just gonna pause here and say that this is gonna be 15 seconds of spoilers. Elliot Page dies in the second scene of this movie, which give me all of your internet anger. Give it to me, because you're so stupid to have fallen for that shit. And then Elliot Page comes back and has this amazing scene. It's just brilliant.
Flashback scenes, and also another just very brilliant moment. Yeah.
So I just really loved that spit in the eye of the people who were spitting in their face.
Spitting into the wind.
Okay, I think we've talked about a lot of boys. Now I think we need to talk about the music.
It's a shorter conversation from me.
Yeah. There's one actual song, and then there's a score. And the song comes at the very end, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's by Ludwig Göransson and James Blake, I want to say.
James Blake and Travis Scott. It's called When I'm Home. It's a nothing burger.
Yeah. I almost think this movie didn't need a song. This movie could have been just score, just pure score, and I would have been... That song took me out in a way, because I was like, we've gone this...
actually.
Right? We've gone this entire way feeling so grounded in this reality, and then we're going to bring in something that sounds like it was made this year? I don't know. What an interesting choice.
They have to go for that Oscar. It's one extra Oscar. You've got to go for it.
Yeah, I didn't think that we were stooping to that in this caliber of film, but you're so right.
Wow. Yeah. I didn't dislike the score. I thought the score was very effective. I think it was a bold choice from Ludwig Göransson to go no orchestra when you're so used to orchestral scores in these movies. Looking it up, they used a lot of Bronze Age, they recreated Bronze Age instruments, gongs, the lyre, another stringed instrument called the aulos. I don't know what that is, but it's used a reed that doesn't exist anymore, so they had to try and recreate that. Cool. That was apparently used as the sound for the snapping of the bowstring, which is one of the most striking bits of sound design in this movie.
Yeah, I love that bowstring pluck, which just sounds like this amazing guitar riff in a way. It's
hits you right down there,
and it filled the entire theater, and you could hear a pin drop after it was struck. Really, really cool. And yeah, the score itself, I'm not going to be humming this score, but it certainly fit the film in this wonderful way. I felt like the entire film was scored. It didn't really feel like there were moments of silence in a way, but it didn't feel like that was unearned.
I mean, there definitely don't seem to be moments of silence because it's a Christopher Nolan film. I am begging you, Christopher Nolan, please go see one of your movies in an ordinary theater. I don't mean a non-IMAX theater even. Go to an IMAX theater in a town that is not Los Angeles. Go anywhere that LA people aren't watching movies to experience the sound design of one of your movies, because it is too much. It is always too much. It takes me half an hour to get to the point where I can pick out the dialogue from the background. It was a real struggle.
A lot of dialogue was washed out, but I thought that was purposeful because I mean, particularly the
Generous.
scenes I'm thinking of were like when they were on on the sea and trying to scream orders at each other, but they couldn't hear
Sure,
each
sure.
other. That's when I found it most difficult to make out what anyone was saying, but I was sure that was the point. I'm trying to
I'll
think of.
allow that.
Say that again?
I will allow that, yes, the chaos is noisy, yes.
Yeah,
But there
but
were scenes where they're like in the palace in Ithaca, and I'm like, what? What is Mia saying? What is hello? And halfway,
yeah.
you were speaking? And it's always this with Christopher Nolan films. His films are always cacophonous in a way that doesn't work for, I think, a large section of the audience. I don't know. It just seems like such an odd choice and not a particularly friendly one.
I mean, I'm also I think because I am losing my hearing as I age, I also just assume that maybe it's me, maybe I missed something. So
Well,
maybe
but
that's
I'm
why I'm
still
so
so young.
generous. Yeah, so it doesn't make sense.
So how could that be?
And you're Jean Grey, apparently. Okay, let's talk about the fashion. This was a very swords and sandals.
Yeah, it was a socks and sandals movie. It was Bognor Regis
Everyone was in
Beach,
Crocs. It was crazy. What a choice.
cargo shorts, and terrible
Okay. This,
Hawaiian shirts,
I mean, Calypso had to wear something. So there are a lot of sandals, there are a lot of robes and cloth,
armor.
but yeah, but there were some standouts, particularly towards the end of the film when it seemed like we were getting very regal all of a sudden. But Anne
Really.
Hathaway's archery challenge dress, where she's wearing this long, like, series
Yes.
of necklaces and this, like, emerald green gown that felt
Mhm.
so current but also relevant or contemporary to the timing of the film.
Yeah.
I thought that was incredible. And her styling, her hair was all up. She has just beautiful light makeup on. Really, really loved that. And I'm also going to shout out Tom Holland's crown, his crowning look, where he's got the thin gold circlet and the gold chest plate, I want to say, or was it
Mhm.
bronze? I mean, it was the Bronze Age. It was probably bronze
Well,
shank and a white cape, and it just looked so clean, and he looked so good in it.
yeah, you get some really cute outfits at the end of
Hmm.
the last third of the movie.
I
When
know
he
which
gets
one
to
you're going to
come back
mention.
as the prince in his glory, and he's wearing this sort of almost embroidered looking chest plate.
Mm-hmm.
That was stunning. And also when he's out of his princely garb, wearing this leather skirt and
The
uh,
skirt.
boots that are like knee socks, and like a like a white blousey thing. Like it's very Japanese schoolgirl, but it looked
Mm,
so good on him. It was
Tom
very cute.
Tom Holland as a Japanese schoolgirl. Sorry, just want to save that for
It's out
later.
there. Yeah, he had several great outfits, but especially when he was playing the young prince,
Mm-hmm.
I thought his drag and his drip were exemplary. Um, this is a film that has dragged through the coals for being historically inaccurate. I'm going to say that's a choice. You
Yeah.
know, I don't think they were going for historical accuracy. Apparently, a lot of Greeks are mad about this movie for basically everything that they think is un-Greek about it, but particularly getting the outfits wrong. And it's like, yeah, it's not trying to appease historians, not least because this isn't a history. This is not based on things that happened.
It's a
Uh,
fantasy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This work of fiction is being criticized for not being period accurate. Okay.
that's right. That's right. And there were complaints like it looked like some of the armor was iron. I don't think it was. I think it was meant to be lap. But yes, there is no iron armor in the Bronze Age.
So
But
sorry.
some of the armor is like extraordinary, verging on sci-fi. Agamemnon's armor is very deliberately like one of the
My
most
God.
striking looks in the whole movie. There's a scene where the doors open and we just see him standing there in isolation. It's very Darth
We
Vader.
have it on a poster,
Very.
both of us.
No, that's a different guy in armor in
Right,
that poster that we were given on
that's
the way.
the Legasteris, the giant cannibals.
Lestrygonians is what I have written
Lestrygonian.
down. Yeah, those were the giants that I didn't know about. That when they go to an island, and it's just full of giants, and they're also wearing like very close to sci-fi armor. Like it's
Yeah.
very stylized.
Very
But they're
Final
giants,
Fantasy,
you know.
actually. Like suits of armor that are too ornate to actually be possible.
Zendaya doesn't get to wear any cute outfits, unfortunately, but
No. But she does
she's
look
making up
great
for
in that
that in the
robe.
press tour.
Yeah.
She does. Yeah, she can
She
kill a
makes it
world.
look good.
Um,
Calypso is really
and
the
yeah,
height of fashion. She's just wearing like I I want to call them rags. Like it just feels like a bunch of layers of fabric tied together with a belt. And I loved it.
honestly, she looks like she's recovering from a 3-day electronica bender in Ayia Napa. And
Yeah.
she's just wearing fishnet, like not fishnets, fishnet.
Fishnet. Yeah.
And
One fishnet. Yeah.
and she's probably gonna like go braid her hair later, and, you know, smoke some
Do some shrooms.
ayahuasca. That's what people do, right?
Yeah.
Great armor designs. There
Mhm.
is a lot of just stunning visual design. It's not a colorful movie by any stretch.
No.
As you said, like it's all lit by fire for the most part.
And
In contrast to what
everything
we,
is a beach. Like I feel like a good third to half of the film is set on some other beach.
yeah, it's a beach movie.
It's a beach
Take
film.
it with you on holiday.
Where was Leonardo DiCaprio?
Out trying to get an Oscar somewhere else.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a very beautifully shot and crafted movie, but not a feast for the eyes in the sense of like design opportunities or color. Contrasts well with Troy, a movie that was all opulence and
And
no
no
grit,
substance.
you know,
Yeah.
no substance.
I actually loved the choice, and I think this was a conscious choice, is like everywhere they go that should be green, like that should have a bit of greenery or
Mm,
lushness to it, is actually done in kind of a washed out, done kind of overtone, so that you never really
yeah.
feel like he's home. It's not until he finally steps onto the shores of Ithaca and rises above the fog and sees Ithaca in the daylight for the first time where you're like, oh, the land is really green. I think that was a conscious decision, but also it definitely adds to this feeling that I was watching a sepia tone film for a lot of it.
Which, living in Toronto right now, going outside and the sky is
Orange,
flush
brown.
orange
Yeah.
from the wildfires. It's like, I mean, I could maybe have used a pot more color in the
Yeah.
fantasy escapism, but that's situation. That's context.
Speaking of fantasy and escapism, let's
Mm.
talk about the queerness. I'm sure you have some notes on this, right?
I have
Insert cricket noise.
one thing, and that is men being turned into pigs is queer. Like that, and being turned back into men and all scrabbling and snorting around on the ground completely naked. Like
That
that
was
was
hot.
a
That was
moment
hot.
of homoeroticism, of commentary on masculinity. You know, it's but beyond that, really hard to find anything gay in this Greek epic.
I feel like we just talked about this. I can't remember why. Oh yeah, right. Another film that totally erased our existence, set in the time where we were honored and respected even. Yeah, it's hard to not be disappointed,
Yeah.
because we have what feels like the most I'm sorry to all the Greek people watching, the most accurate depiction of this myth that we've ever had. Where are the homosexuals? We're mentioned in every text of this Bronze Age, where on every urn we can't even get like a nod, a LeFou type situation. It's bizarre.
Just conspicuously intimate male friendship would have been nice.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure people say, well, this story, The Odyssey, doesn't have that in it in the Homeric tradition. It doesn't exist. But so
So
a lot of things get added to movies.
I looked
It
at the
would have been
plot.
nice. It wasn't expected, but it would have been nice.
Yes, I guess that is true. I wasn't expecting to see anything. I kind of had high hopes, though. I was looking at the plot of the Odyssey, like the actual epic, and plenty of changes were made. Like, so many
Yeah.
things were condensed into one storyline, so many parts were omitted. I feel like we could have honored some of the other Greek traditions by just including they were on that boat together for years. None of them fucked?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
We know they did. I would say the other queer element that was like being talked about before the movie came out, with when there were trailers for this movie, people caught on to this sort of tension between Robert Pattinson's character and Tom Holland's character, where he's like, "Your daddy's not coming home." And it's very
Which-
much like,
Love that
"I'm
line.
daddy."
Yeah.
But the movie doesn't actually play with that at all, I didn't
No.
think. Like, that one line is it, and it still reads in the movie, but it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, in a lot of ways it wasn't, but in some ways this film felt sanitized. Like,
Right.
you know, Odysseus's people not just pillaged, but they also committed sexual acts of violence against women as well as probably men. And Penelope surely was the victim of assault, if I remember correctly from my reading about this history. So, elements of this were just really toned down to, I think, appeal to a broader audience. But does that do anyone any service?
Yeah. The ultimate takeaway of the movie is to say that we have become uncivilized, that men are barbaric, that there is no coming back from war, essentially.
Yeah.
It's a point well made, well taken. They do show how savage and how particularly like assaulty, let's say, war can be in the pillaging of Troy. Like, that's all there in the movie. We're just asking for some nice sex,
Yeah.
some good sex.
Yeah.
But it's not
really
Christopher
nice.
Nolan's thing. Like, I don't think he's like, there was that one moment in Inception where it seemed like Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Tom Hardy might be flirting with each other. And I now look back on that scene and I'm like, oh, that was Tom Hardy. That was
That's
all
just Tom
Hardy.
Hardy being Tom Hardy. How can he not be flirty? It's his entire being. God, I want to meet him. Yeah. This is also the problem with Marvel movies, right? Is like, we've just made movies sexless. Bring back the disgusting 90s where everyone was flashing some kind of skin and where everyone was having sex with everyone. Like, we needed to find some balance in that, but going in the complete opposite direction is not working for filmmaking.
No. More gays.
Yeah, more gays, more sex in general. Well, that aside, I love this movie. And
I hope there's no ambiguity there.
Yeah, I think it's time that we rate this film. Here at KKBB, we give the film itself a base score out of 5, and then we give it a queer score out of 5 based on all the categories that we just talked about. So let's start with your base score. Andrew, out of 5, what do you think about this film?
The only difficulty here is that we just saw this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I've not had time to sit with it. And so I don't know where I will come down on it when I've spent a bit more time thinking about it, reflecting on it, or seeing it again. But for right now, it's a 5. Like, it's such a great piece of cinema.
I feel the same way. I know I'm seeing this again with my mom and brother, and this is me letting them know that I've already seen this film by doing this podcast. I'm so sorry. I loved it, and I thought it was a brilliant movie with so much to say about the world that we live in currently, and it was just wonderful to watch. I'm also going to give it a 5. Now we're going to award points for the 5 categories. Andrew, do the women of this film get a point?
I never thought I'd say this about a Christopher Nolan movie, but yes, it's getting the point for me because, hey, super.
Absolutely chock full of brilliant performances by women. And then the boys. Are there enough pretty boys in this film to earn it a point? I'm going to say yes. For me, as a lifelong and unwavering Matt Damon fan, and also someone who loves Tom Holland, that's a point for me.
I think if Tom Holland weren't in this film, there wouldn't be enough for me to give it the point because so many of the men are sort of covered up. It's not an erotic film. I mean, there's something there, but Odysseus and Penelope, I think, is as close as we get to Brisson in this movie.
There was that deer boy in the field. We did get to see bare male ass,
and it was a cute butt.
Yeah,
but Tom Holland is so good. I mean, he's genuinely so good in this film, but also so pretty. So I'll give him the point.
And then there's the music. I really, learning that they recreated the instruments of yore to create the score intrigues me. But I already made my criticism is that I will never be able to hum a single piece of this score again. And I did not enjoy the whiplash of that very contemporary song. So I'm not going to give it a music score or a music
The song
point.
was a mistake. And the sound overall, I think, was poorly balanced. So it can't get a point from me.
Fashion. This is tough too. I mean, there are elements of the fashion that I love. A lot of it is just armor, but it was good armor.
Yeah, it's really gorgeous armor. I think the Trojan armor, especially, I thought was really beautiful.
Yeah.
But whether that's enough, I'm going to withhold on this one, I think.
I think I am going to give it the point because when the fashion was on point, it was really superb, and I think the armor for me counts, so I am going to give it that point and split the difference here. And I think we're both going to agree on this. I mean, I can't give it a queer point.
It's a great shame. Have we not said it enough times? Christopher Nolan, put some gays in your films.
Just one gay, yeah. Honestly, I mean, look, I was
credit for casting Elliot Page in the
That's
movie,
exactly
but
what I was
putting
going to
queer
say.
actors
In straight roles
on the screen is not enough. Yeah. It's like I appreciate the turnout for that, but also that should be the bare freaking minimum that we can expect.
So that gives us a gay score of 2.5 between us. Are we going to give this film
not the strongest?
Are we going to give this film a penalty though? God, for all the griping I always do in these episodes, I didn't actually find anything so egregious that it took me out. There was nothing so offensive or not offensive enough that I feel like I need to award a penalty here.
No, I mean, yeah, we've already talked about the queerness. We've talked about how strong the women are in this.
Mm-hmm.
The diversity of the movie is a thing that is going to aggravate all the people we love to see aggravated.
Yeah,
and respect for that, because Himesh Patel, William Lee, Corey Hawkins, Travis Scott as the Bard. This is a colorblind cast essentially, but done in such a good, strong, character-specific way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no penalty from me.
Great. So combined, that's 7.5 out of 10. I think that makes sense to me. As a queer film, it is not landing high on the list, but as a film, it is one of the best things I've seen in a long, long time.
It's a masterpiece. Absolutely.
Well, anything you want to say before we close this baby out and get back to rowing our way out of here?
I mean, go back and check out our Troy episode to compare and contrast our feelings on the two different Homeric adaptations of the
Yeah,
21st.
I'm gonna steal a note that I don't think that you had that I don't think we talked about, which is the movie from the perspective of the people staying behind on the boats.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
absolutely
crazy
a comedy. Yeah.
The number of scenes in this movie that is the entire, like, Odysseus' entire crew running back towards the boats and being
Being
like,
chased by
push off,
something
push
new.
off.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's good. It's a really good gag. Well, if you enjoyed this video, please click like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, tell us which epic we missed that we need to cover next. I hear you, it should be
Yeah.
Alexander. And as always, thank you for watching. Until next time, kiss kiss. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel. You can follow Kiss Kiss Bang Bang on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd at KKBBpod, or email us at kisskissbangbangpod@gmail.com.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is recorded in Toronto on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples.